Sortified's Being Bold project presents The Pudding Club, a comedy drama for radio by Belinda Hay. Part 1.
Jules, it's nearly time. Do you think we've got enough cups and saucers?
Stop panicking, Frankie. We've got plenty of everything. There's enough pudding back there to feed a small army.
I know. I got a bit carried away. It's all Dave's fault. He was winding me up about what he calls ladies' night. He thinks it's just a ruse for us girls to get together to talk about period pains, slag off our partners and moan about having to buy Tampax. I just kept on whisking, and 64 mini pavlovas later, I felt so much better. Although my wrist is bloody killing me now.
Poor Dave. Bango's his friends with benefits free pass for a while then.
Oh, for God's sake, Jules, get a grip of yourself. Always with the sexual innuendo. I need you on your best behaviour tonight. We're trying to generate new business here. I really need this to work.
I know.
Remember the plan?
Yes.
The idea is to get people so hooked on my puddings that they keep coming back for more. Oh, stop it. Enough already. We then gently introduce the odd stew, then calling it a supper night. And before you know it, we're running a restaurant and I can close the deli for good.
Don't worry. We'll have the meeting out of the palm of our hands. Obviously, not literally. It'll make an awful mess on the floor.
Oh, yeah, and I never get the tomato stains out of my lifeline.
Frankie, you're my best friend and I love you to bits. You know that, but I need to be honest with you.
Oh dear, what is it? Does my bum look big in this?
No.
Does my lippy make me look more Mick Jagger than Nigella Lawson?
No.
Then it's got to be my hair. I knew I should have put a colour on it. I look more skunky than funky, don't I?
No, Frankie, stop it. I just don't get why we're bothering with this whole pudding club thing. Why don't you just alter the business so it's a restaurant and be done with it? You've always had such a weird way of doing things.
Oh, none taken.
Seriously. Remember that time when we were teenagers and you had this great business idea about selling fags to the sixth formers and you insisted on us both smoking outside the art block to generate trade?
Yep, genius idea.
We both looked ridiculous. Neither of us were proper smokers, coughing and spluttering everywhere. In fact, I think I threw up in front of the gorgeous sixth form idol himself, Ian Smith. Oh. And he was the one we were trying to target in the first place. Luckily for you, my advisory change of location paid off. We started to stand at the tree by the gate, you remember?
Oh, yes.
And the Marlborough Lights at 10 pence a pop generated enough money for us to buy those Miss Selfridge tops.
Miss Selfridge, Jules. Can you imagine Nessa liking anything from there? Do you remember the green plastic clip-on earrings?
Oh, man, I was obsessed with them.
Oh, Jules, honey, I have a confession to make. This has been eating me up inside since forever. You see, the thing is, well...
Oh, God, Frankie, now what?
Well,
Come on, woman, spit it out.
Well, I kind of did it deliberately.
What on earth are you talking about?
It was all a ruse to get Ian to notice me. The fact that you threw up gave me the perfect opportunity to have an intimate chat with him and discuss a mutually beneficial trade agreement.
Oh, God, Frankie, what did you do?
Well, thing is, Ian suggested he could help with sales if I offered a little extra service on the side. For every 10 pence we made on the sale of a ciggy, Ian was making the same by selling a snogging service per purchase.
Well, I never. So that was why only boys came to buy fags. So basically, what you're telling me is that Ian Smith was your pimp.
Well, not exactly. He also paid me to snog him. I like to think I was just delivering exceptional customer service.
Unbelievable. You dirty sleazebag floozy.
I know. But come on, it was so worth it. We stole the show at the school disco wearing those white ruffle blouses. Prince Charming, oh, Prince Charming, oh, ridicule is nothing to be scared of. Oh, Jules, we just need to come at this from a different angle. There's already so much restaurant competition in this town. Good God, is that the time already? Where is everyone? And where the hell is Nessa? Nessa, make sure Poppy has been fed and wash your hands before you come down to the shop. I can't have dog hair all over my trifle tarts. Right, menu board. Where is that chalk?
Festival of Fruit Meringue. Oh, you mean the mini pavlovas? How very cheechy. Lemon scones infused with orange rind double whipped cream. Oh, very decadent. Sounds like an advert for Marks and Spencer's.
How apt, Mum. You, the queen of puddings herself. Although that makes the choices rather heavy on the meringue side of things. You sure you're feeling all white? Come on, keep up. White. Egg white. Rhymes with right.
It also rhymes with shite.
Oh, yes, highly amusing, Nessa. Now stop taking the mickey and get to it. We need to make sure everything is in place. Jules, you're on teas and coffees. Nessa, portion control and payments. I will mostly be networking and providing napkins. Shit, napkins.
Wow, she is mega stressing about this. Anyone would think she was expecting royalty or something. I say, what? Can I interest you in a slice of jam and egg white pie? What?
Come on, let's make the effort for your mum. You know how much this means to her. By the way, snappy outfit, Missy. You going out later?
It's from the new range. Exclusive pre-sales floor, mail order. I've already had 6,000 likes. Not bad for something I threw on half an hour ago.
Oh, and to think it took me all of 5 minutes this morning to look like a sack of spuds. The pressure. You just don't understand.
It's a full-time job to look this good, you know. Oh, thank God I work in that clothes shop and get commission on the stuff I promote. I'd be constantly skint otherwise.
Nessa, I hate to break it to you, love, but you are skint. You still owe me for last month's rent. And for the shoes you just had to have for the leopard print capris you wore to Macy's 21st.
They were the only ones that went with the outfit.
What? The only pair of shoes in the whole entire world that worked with that outfit. Jules, 120 quid for a pair of kitten heels that haven't been worn since.
Oh, they sound lovely, Ness. Just think of all those new collection outfits they'll go with.
What?
And they'll come in handy for that charity summer ball you were telling me about last week.
No, I don't think...
Won't they?
Well?
Oh, they will look amazing, won't they?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Mum. I'll pay you back, Mum. It's all good, Mum.
Oh, for God's sake, Mum, you're overreacting again. Just calm down.
Calm down? I'll give you calm down, young lady. I'll calm down when you start showing some respect around here. I'm sick of you treating this place like a hotel. Furry coffee cups and those tiny elastic band knickers on the floor everywhere. I feel like a servant in my own home. You need to get a grip and stop taking responsibility for yourself. I can't keep bailing you out.
Oh God, what's happening to me? Where am I? My head is too full. I must think straight. I can't. Oh shit. I think I'm going to be sick. What the hell is going on? Why have I suddenly turned into a bloated volcanic eruption of a pufferfish with a breathing disorder? This is the third time this week I've been like this. Jeez, it's hot in here. Oh God, my chest is pounding. It can't be a heart attack. I'd have keeled over by now, surely. It's like I've run an Olympic race, but in reality I've just sat on my big fat bottom doing absolutely nothing. Shit, what if I'm actually having some sort of nervous breakdown? Or what if I'm losing my mind and turning into some sort of weird and mean alter ego, savage version of myself? Nessa actually called me a monster last week because I was frothing at the mouth like some rabid animal over the missing car keys. I was convinced she'd lost them, only to find them an hour later in my handbag, where I'd looked for them in the first place. Well, if I am turning into some beastly, scary wild animal, I want to be a magnificent one. Certainly not a putrid, prickly pufferfish. Say a great big, majestic cat with a killer bite, but an amazing, sleek and striking fur coat. Let me think. Got it. A jaguar. Having said that, knowing my luck, I'll end up as a great big lump of a thing, all mean and moody with scruffy tatty fur. Weird that. Now I've got an image of Dave in my head getting out of the shower. Poor Dave. He can't do anything right at the minute. I can't help it. He just winds me up. And I can't bear him anywhere near me. He is permanently on heat, and I am the ice maiden who is turning into a bloody nasty grizzly bear. Or perhaps a scary-looking bat? I'm as blind as one these days, according to Nessa. Oh no! What if I'm also going blind? Jules made fun of me last week because I'd put the caster sugar where the granulated goes, and I couldn't see the bread knife on the counter. It was practically right under my nose. Jules told Mrs. Forbes, who was in the deli at the time purchasing a rustic cob and some Italian olives as her contribution towards a family buffet. Well, she told her that it was my age, as if I was going senile or something. Cheeky cow. A lengthy conversation then ensued between the two ladies as to what makes a woman of my age do illogical things. My age, indeed. I'm only 2 months older than Jules. The audacity of it. It turns out it's all about what Mrs. Forbes calls the change. And according to her, it will only get worse before it gets better. Tell me something I don't already know.
So, I guess now is not a good time to ask for a 50 quid sub until payday.
No.
Oh, bloody hell, Mum. Simmer down. Take a chill pill.
Oh, does Mummy need her medicine? We can very quickly flip this thing into a wine and cheese night, you know. I mean, it's not like we have to go anywhere to get the supplies.
Don't tempt me. Sounds great, but the way I feel right now, I wouldn't know when to stop. I'd be doing some serious toilet hugging in no time.
I suppose you're right, Frankie. We don't want a repeat performance of last month's gin night. 6 grown women finding the nearest receptacle to vomiting after several shots of Michelle's home-brewed bath gin. I'll never forget that foul stench. It was everywhere. Ugh. I'm scarred for life, you know. I will never be able to look at a crystal vase in the same light again.
Oh, I know what you mean. I get flashbacks every time I see a Tesco's carrier bag. And it had a hole in it. There were strings of spaghetti and pieces of carrot seeping out all over the sitting room's nude plush pile. Oh, never again.
Yeah, famous last words. Until next time.
Right, got to press on. Did you speak to the local journalist about tonight, Nessa?
Who, Nancy? Oh, yeah. She said she'd swing by. Oh, she's so funny. She came to interview the boss last month and was high as a kite. She kept thinking the polka dots in Mary's blouse were neon tetras swimming in the room and kept referring to the boutique as an aquarium. She writes a cracking review though, and sales of polka dot blouses have increased by 40%, which is an added bonus, really.
Well, let's hope she can work miracles with my meringues. That is, if anyone bothers to turn up.
I hope you don't mind me picking your brains like this, Sinead. I've always wanted to go on a cruise ship. I absolutely love the idea of going to sleep in one country and then waking up in another one the next day. Bonne nuit. Buenos dias.
Oh, I have to say, Jules, that touring the Mediterranean is one of my favourite things to do. I never tire of Barcelona, can't get enough of Rome, and simply love people watching in Monaco.
Oh, how cosmopolitan.
Not really. Not when you add the children into the mix. Although I do enjoy pretending they aren't mine when I'm sipping my coffee al fresco by the harbour. They like to play croissant wars on the quayside. Anyone within a 100-metre radius is guaranteed a shower of flaky pastry.
Well, it's better than dandruff.
My husband, Robert, enjoys the casino in Monte Carlo, so it can be quite a long day for the rest of us. He tells me that he finds the thrill of gambling relaxing. The most thrilling thing I get up to on a cruising holiday is prizing the children off the railings and stopping them from shouting "man overboard."
Oh dear. So not exactly relaxing either then.
Sinead has 4 children, Jules.
Oh, good to see you back in the land of the living, Nessa. You'll give your thumbs RSI with all that texting malarkey. Phones are killing the art of conversation.
So says the Candy Crush addict.
Sorry, little Miss TikTok-tastic.
Oh, my 9-year-old is addicted to those silly little dances. He often makes me join in with him. I rather enjoy it, actually.
It's good for fitness too, Sinead. I hope I look as good as you when I'm as old as you. Older. Oh God, sorry. You know what I mean.
The youth of today, eh? If you're not careful, Ness, you're going to lose your best customer. Sinead, we're all really grateful you could make it tonight. I can't begin to imagine the logistics of organising an exit plan from your place for a few hours of freedom.
Oh, it's not that bad. I have the most superb babysitter. The boys absolutely adore her. Livy glides in and the house is immediately calmer. She's a gorgeous Pied Piper, Mary Poppins, mutant darling thing, and is worth every penny. I'd thoroughly recommend her if you ever need a sitter.
I don't have any children.
Oh, I see. Have you tried IVF? They have a very positive success rate these days, and of course there's always adoption.
I'm not a mother because I can't be a mother. I'm not a mother because I choose not to be one.
Yes, of course. How very rude of me. I do apologise.
Honestly, it's no big deal. Mick and I...
Mick?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's my husband. Anyhow, we're both just happy as we are. Besides, I've always had my work cut out being Nessa's second mum.
Found the napkins in the top tray of the dishwasher. I must have put them there when I was loading the dirty cutlery, silly me. I'm so sorry about this, Sinead. I'm not normally this disorganised. How was the meringue?
Really delicious. Thank you, Frankie. If you were on Great British Bake Off, you'd be crowned Star Baker. I will definitely be recommending you to all my friends.
Wow, high praise indeed. That's so kind of you, thanks. I could never put myself forward for that show, though. Far too much pressure with strict timings, technical challenges, cameras everywhere, and far too much eye candy distraction. Oh, Paul Hollywood has such mesmerising eyes. Oh, and all in a tent. I'm melting just at the thought of it.
Bet you could get his Victoria sponge to rise to the occasion, though.
Oh, God, Jules, what you like?
Ew, no, gross. He's so creepy. He reminds me of an overfed Nightwalker from Game of Thrones.
So, what made you think of opening up a pudding club? I think it's a marvellous idea. There should be a huge queue at the door to get in.
I don't know where everyone has got to. I handed out loads of flyers to all my loyal customers. They all seem very keen on the idea.
Well, It's such a lovely evening. Maybe everyone has decided to sunbathe in their gardens tonight instead.
Will you still run the delicatessen during the day, Frankie? I must pop in sometime. I have to admit, I am one of those lazy mothers who just gets everything from Waitrose because it's convenient.
I can't imagine what your food bill must be like. I only have the one man to feed and his appetite is enormous.
Believe me, it's the bane of my life. It really is relentless. It's like having your own constant plague of locusts. I sometimes think I should just let the children eat out of the shopping bags from the kitchen floor and be done with it. Nothing seems to stay in the cupboards for long enough. Oh, well, apart from the empty boxes and packets of things. And then they complain that there's no food when they're the culprits who left the debris behind in the first place.
I can see how that might save the time in putting everything away. But you'd still have to refill the bags eventually. Oh, I guess you could attach food bags to the kids' ears, like they do sometimes with horses. But it's not a good look, is it?
Oh, yes. I remember it like it was yesterday. It is nigh on impossible to satisfy the appetite of a growing child. My mum used to say that the kids had hollow legs. Winter nights were the worst. My son Arnie would eat a box of cereal in one sitting for his supper, and we'd always run out of milk. And cheese. Oh, and the mountains of bread and butter we'd get through. In the end, I just refused to buy orange juice. It would literally disappear within seconds of entering the house.
Is this the son who lives in Manchester? Works as a producer?
Yes, he does, bless him. He's having the time of his life. He apparently flits from set to set. He goes wherever they need an extra pair of hands. He's always been very easygoing and easy to get along with. Thank the Lord he's nothing like his dad. Now that's another story altogether.
I'm sure Sinead doesn't want to be bored with the details of your failed marriage to Dad. Ultimately, he's not a well man, and you split up such a long time ago.
Are you still in contact with your father, Vanessa?
Not really, no. I get the odd birthday card, if he remembers, and a drink and I'm sorry phone call every now and then. That's about it, really. 25,000 likes. This outfit is going viral. Excuse me, ladies, I need to make a phone call. I won't be long. If you need me, Mum, I'll be out back in the kitchen.
Oh dear, I am so sorry. I think I may have put my foot in it. Perhaps now is a good time for me to go and leave you in peace.
Nonsense. Have another cup of tea. Maybe try a different dessert. Goodness knows there's plenty to go at. Nessa's fine. She always hates it when I bring up her dad in conversation.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Nessa is right. It was a very long time ago, and that's why I can talk about it now. Jacob was a great husband at first, until his obsession with working all hours as a stockbroker took over, closely followed by his addiction to young interns and alcohol.
Oh dear.
She never said anything to anyone. I'd go and visit once a month and everything looked great between them. I was totally gobsmacked when Frankie told me what had really been happening.
The thing is, you end up living a lie for so long, you actually become immune to it. Like it's not actually happening. I so wanted it to work out. I just kept on making excuses for his behaviour.
Oh, you poor thing.
I just kept on convincing myself that it was just a rough patch and that things would get better. I thought that having Nessa would somehow complete us as a family and that Jacob would become the loving husband and father I'd so longed for.
Oh, Frankie, I don't know what to say. What an ordeal. How on earth did you cope?
Do you know, I look back at that whole chapter in my life and I can't believe I actually let it go on for so long. It felt like he was never there. He kept on making excuses about working late at the office, but would then turn up at home, stinking of booze and perfume.
How awful for you.
I tried so hard to get him involved with the children, but he just didn't want to know. It was like he was ashamed of us.
He's just a self-centred, know-it-all, alcoholic prick. He should be ashamed of himself, but he's too pissed or hungover to care.
I'm not going to lie. Living with someone with a drinking problem is like walking a tightrope. You never know if you'll make it to the other side.
How terrible. It must have been like walking on eggshells.
It was exactly that, Sinead. Don't get me wrong, he never hit me or anything. He was just verbally abusive and always an angry drunk.
You poor darling.
The point of no return finally came one day when he came home from work early in a terrible drunken state. He grabbed Nessa out of her pram and was squeezing her aggressively because she was crying.
Goodness.
I don't know what came over me, but I just went for him. I slapped him round the face so hard he immediately dropped Nessa. I managed to catch her before she hit the floor. It all happened so fast. It was awful.
I can imagine.
We were both in shock. He just left the room and I haven't seen him since. Up to that point in our marriage, I had tolerated everything. The aggression, the shouting, the controlling, violent behaviour. But there was no way I was going to allow him to hurt the kids. I knew I had to get out. So I rang Jules and told her everything. Next thing I knew, Jules was bundling me and the kids into her car. I've been living in the flat above the deli ever since. Jules was then, still is to this day, my saviour.
Oh, babes, stop it. You know, we only normally get all mushy like this when we're 2 bottles of wine in. Here, Sinead passes a napkin for Frankie. Anyway, that was then, this is now. When are you next seeing the lovely Dave? Dave is my husband, Mick's best friend, Sinead. They run a plumbing and heating business together. The standing joke is that Frankie needed a boiler fixing and got more than she bargained for. Seriously, though, it took me ages to convince them both to give it a go, but it paid off. They're now over 2 years in.
Oh, how splendid. I do love a happy ending.
I wish the same could be said about tonight. I'm so sorry this has turned into a non-event.
Don't be ridiculous, Frankie. Not from where I'm sitting. I'm all for supporting small local businesses. It was about time I started to put my money where my mouth is. That's why when Vanessa told me about your venture, I simply had to come. What is not to love about a scrummy pudding? Especially when you get to eat it in peace without having to give half of it away to your third child who has the same sweet tooth as his mother. I, for one, am in heaven.
Let's get you that cup of tea, Sinead. Frankie, fancy a cuppa?
Oh, yes, please. Thirsty work, this sharing malarkey. I never used to be this emotional. I blame my hormones.
Won't be a sec.
Oh, I know what you mean. Robert avoids me for 3 days every 4 weeks without fail. He stays in London a lot with work, but I have definitely noticed a pattern forming that tallies with what my youngest child, Ewan, calls the mummy Maleficent days.
Oh, how times have changed. The Wicked Witch of the West was all the rage when my two were small. Yeah. In fact, I distinctly remember receiving a broomstick for Mother's Day one year as a joke present when the kids were teenagers. You can imagine how that went down and where said broom ended up sticking.
Oh, we really must do this more often. It's so nice for me to have a break from just being a mummy.
Hey, don't sell yourself short, Sinead. Being a full-time parent is one of the hardest games in the world. Long hours, no pay, no breaks, and very little sleep. It's like an incessant SAS interrogation exercise. Only the love we have for the child torturers is so goddamn strong, we keep on going back for more.
Hear, hear. Try not to be disheartened about the turnout this evening. There may well be a good reason why people couldn't make it tonight. Rome wasn't built in a day. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. I could get used to this.
Oh, please, Sinead, call me Nessa. You've been coming to the boutique for so long now. I feel like you're more of a friend than a customer. Mum calls me Vanessa when she's cross with me, which seems to be quite often lately.
Hey, that's not very nice.
So, what do you think of my mother's deli, Sinead? I keep telling her the place is in serious need of a revamp.
Oh, well, I actually like its traditional feel. It's rather cosy.
Actually, Sinead, as much as I hate to admit it, Nessa is right about the decor. I haven't changed a thing since my parents retired 4 years ago and handed the business over to me. If the Pudding Club actually manages to take off, I intend to give Welcome Home a serious facelift.
I love the business logo name. Welcome Home. It's so unique, yet has an element of comfort about it. Now that's the signature of any good showstopper of a pudding, if ever I heard one.
Oh, thanks, Sinead. I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had about changing the name of the business. But it reminds me of my childhood. My parents call themselves the Peters and Lee of Lincolnshire. They still dance around the kitchen every time the song comes on the radio.
Oh, how adorable.
Oh, Granny and Grandpa Stevens are my favourite couple in the whole world. They are living proof that romance is not dead. They're so cute together. My heart melts every time I see them. Oh, I love them so much.
Ba-ba-da-da! Look what I found in the back of the fridge. Come on, ladies. There may not be many of us here, but I'm sure we can make a serious dent in these delicious-looking beauties.
Oh, they look great, Mum. Bang.
Oh, look at that one. That's the one for me.
Yeah. I forgot about those. Oh, well. May as well enjoy the fruits of my labour, especially as no one else has turned up.
I saw Joan this morning when out walking the dog, and she said she'd come. I wonder where she's got to. It's quite sweet, really. Poppy and Arthur, that's her dog, have quite the blooming romance. You can actually see the joy in Poppy's face when she sees him on the field. She's like an overexcited child. She bounds over to Arthur like he's the long-lost love of her life. It gets me every time. I just want to throw out my arms and sing the Titanic theme tune. Near, far, wherever you are.
I think you're onto something, Ness. That could be the theme tune for the customers here at the Pudding Club.
This is bloody stupid. My first night off in months from looking after Mum, and I'm thinking about you, Fred. You and me having afternoon tea after that walk on the pier in Whitby. I'd bought some of them dirty cartoon joke postcards, and you got us the Kiss Me Quick hats that we wore in the caff. We were like a pair of naughty school kids. You slurping your tea with your pinky sticking out saying, "More tea, Vicar, don't mind if I do." And me with my napkin under my chin like a bib, so's to catch the cake crumbs. And then we played Flick the Cake Wrapper. First to make it stick to your top for more than 5 seconds was the winner. I still don't know how mine ended up in me bra. That waitress hated us, do you remember? Talk about daggers. What a laugh. Been ages since I had a good laugh. Oh, Fred, I wish you were here. It'd all be so much easier. Do you know, I still can't settle at night even after all this time. It's not just Mum, although her being up and about at night is definitely getting worse. She tried to pee in the wardrobe the other night, thinking it were bathroom. "Mum," I said, "you can't squat there, there's no toilet. You're about to pee on your winter dressing gown." "Oh, sorry," she said, "I thought it felt a bit warm and soft." No, it's not just that. The bed is so big. And cold. And empty. I miss hearing you breathe and me putting me cold feet on your legs and you pulling me in tight. "Come here, gal," you'd say, and I'd snuggle in like a little bird nuzzling into its mam and dad, all cosy. 42 years this month since we married, and still not a day goes by without me thinking about you. Come on, Joan, get a grip, woman. No use crying over spilt milk. You're meant to be having a good time. Come on, brave face. Let's see if these cakes are as good as the ones in Whitby, eh, Fred?
perfect timing, Joan. We were just talking about the romance of the century, and here you are. You will not believe how pleased I am to see you. We're an hour into the evening, and it's like the Marie Celeste in here. Joan, you really have saved the day.
Oh, sorry I'm late, Duck. Our Sid, that's me brother, he's sitting with Mum, but he didn't come over on time. Don't know why I'm surprised. He'd be late for his own funeral, that one. I came as soon as I could.
Mum, this is Joan. She's the lovely lady I see when I take Poppy for her walks.
Oh, nice to meet you, Joan. I'm Frankie. This is Jules and this is Sinead.
Lovely to meet you.
Oh, pleased to meet
Hi,
you.
nice to meet you, Joan.
Do you know, I've been looking forward to this all week. It's so good to get out of the house.
Oh, bless you. Ness has told me that you look after your mum. How's she doing?
Oh, God, Duck, how long have you got? I could write a book about what she gets up to. Never known anything like it. She's got dementia and I'm the demented one. Got to laugh or I'd cry.
See, Mum, I told you Joan was a character. You make me laugh so much, Joan. I love our dog walks. You always cheer me up. Right, my lovely, come and sit over here. I'll get you a nice cup of tea and one of Mum's amazing puddings. There's plenty to choose from.
Never had it so good. I can't remember the last time someone made me a cuppa. Very nice. These look good. And a bit of fruit. Might as well tuck into this. It's part of me 5 a day.
Exactly, Joan. It's practically all strawberries. There's only a little bit of cream and sugar in them. Hardly any calories at all, really.
I'm not bothered about that, Duck. I need the fibre. The old engine doesn't run as smoothly as it used to. I need all the help I can get these days. What is it?
Oh, it's a trifle tart, Joan. Oh, I forgot to write it on the board. My memory's like a sieve these days.
You should try living with me mother. She put the tatey sieve under the bed. I couldn't find it for ages. Turns out she thought it were a bedpan. Thank God I got to her in the nick of time. Very strong thighs, though. She didn't fall over or anything. I've got her wearing night knickers now. Have to laugh or I'd cry.
Oh, bless you.
The tarts are yummy, Joan. Made with proper custard, none of that packet stuff here.
Ooh, very posh. Although there's nought wrong with a bit of bird's custard and stale cake. Always helps soften up the edges. Ooh. Bloody lovely.
Oh dear. Missed call from Robert. I better see what he wants. He said something about working overtime this weekend. I'll have to cancel the dinner party if so. Sorry, won't be long.
Right, let me pop and get you that nice cup of tea, Joan.
Hang on, Nessa. I'll come out back with you. I just need to check up on Poppy. It's really muggy tonight. Back in a tick.
I had to leave a fan on for Arthur. I left him wafting his face in it on kitchen floor before I came out. I made Mum and Sid sit in kitchen with him to keep an eye on him. You could get your hair caught up in those things. I've seen it on You've Been Framed. Nasty business.
I love that name for a dog, Joan. How did you choose it?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Ducky. It were Fred's idea. That's me husband. He's dead now, bless him. Dicky Ticker. God rest his soul. Been 2 years, 3 months and 4 days now. Doctor said we should stop smoking, but it's hard to give up something you've been doing all your life.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Joan. My dad died recently too. I still have days when it really gets to me.
Oh, Duck. Bless you. It's bloody hard some days to carry on, isn't it? Fred was my bestest bud. We did everything together. Even worked at the same factory. You know, on the lines. Salads mostly. People used to think we were mad to work and live together, but it suited us just fine. Felt like I'd had my arm cut off when he went.
Do you have any children, Joan?
Oh, God, no. Never wanted 'em. Kids tie you down and cost a fortune. Plus, I like my sleep too much. Although, since living with Mum, I don't get a lot of that anymore. She started wandering around at all hours. Found her trying to climb into the wardrobe in the spare room last night. She said she was looking for the loo. Silly mare.
Really? Oh, bless her. Or perhaps she was sleepwalking?
I wish it were that simple, love. It's her ailment that's doing it. It's getting really bad now. I keep on telling our Sid that she's getting worse, but he won't listen, selfish bugger. Anyway, never mind. We plod on. It could be worse. Arthur keeps me sane, and he only answers me back with a bark. That suits me just fine.
Here you are, Joan. You must be parched after eating your pudding. Oh, where's Sinead gone?
She's on the phone outside talking to her husband, I think.
Jules, help me with this table, will you? We might as well all sit together if this is it for tonight. Might as well cosy it up a bit, eh, Joan?
Oh, isn't this nice? You're spoiling me, Nessa. I haven't seen a sugar cube in years. I can eat these things like sweets, you know. Plays havoc with me false teeth, though, if I've not got enough pulley grip in. Don't mind if I do.
The Pudding Club was written by Belinda Hay and featured, in order of appearance, Belinda Hay as Frankie, Jo Mules as Jules, Rachel Rowett as Nessa, Rachel Pick as Sinead, and Colette Buchanan-Gray as Joan. The programme was recorded and edited by Callum Thursby and directed by Kai Bailey. This production was presented by Sortified's Being Bold project, which is funded by the Tampon Tax Community Fund provided through the Lincolnshire Community Foundation. Sortified's Being Bold project presents The Pudding Club, a comedy drama for radio by Belinda Hay. Part 2.
Yeah, Frankie and I have covered a plethora of subjects over the years when it's been quiet. We've put the world to rights so many times, I'm convinced we could rule the country far better than any politician.
Oh, honestly, don't get me started on that subject. Irrespective of which side of the fence you are on, the thing I find most disappointing is that not enough people vote in the first place. Whether we like it or not, we are all affected by decisions made by our politicians.
You don't vote, you don't have the right to moan about what happens. Fortunately for me, I have the right to whinge with impunity.
Hear, hear.
Yeah,
You certainly do, Duck.
Oh, look at us, shooting the breeze, putting the world to rights. This reminds me of school days in the canteen at lunchtime. Love a girl's gossip stash.
Nessa, you've made my day, Duck. Last time I was called a girl, I was with my friend at home. Best I don't tell you the ins and outs of that story, though. Not in front of a lady.
Joan, you saucy mare. Oh, this is so cool. Mrs. Howard would no doubt have a thing or two to say if you were at school with me.
Mrs. O?
Mrs. Howard. She was our sports teacher at school.
In that case, she'd definitely go for me. I hated sports at school. Me and Janice Jenkins were always last in. We'd sneak off for a quick fag and chat the boys up near the mound next to the school. That's how I met my Fred. Ah, happy days.
Oh, Joan, you are so funny. Anyway, Mrs. Howard was always telling us off for moving the tables around, but we'd get away with it because Shelley Brown was part of the group that did it. Shelley was Howard's favourite. So good at everything sporty. Thighs like tree trunks and arms that sliced through the air when she ran. She just devastated anything in her path.
Did she ever get to compete professionally for anything, Nessa?
Sadly, not Sinead. She had so much potential, but when we all started sixth form, she got pregnant. She ended up running around after babies instead of the sports track.
Oh, yes, I remember that year all too well. The family were devastated. Rita, Shelley's mum, was at the same Slimming World group as me at the time, and bless her, I think the shock of what was to come put her body into hibernation mode. She put on 2 stone in 9 months. It was hard to tell who was the pregnant one.
My goodness me. 16's far too young to become a parent. I can barely cope now.
It's weird. It was a shock for everyone. We were all so angry with Shelley for being so irresponsible, but we couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Triplets is a big deal.
Triplets?
Oh, the things that go on in this little town of ours. We could definitely give Corrie a run for its money.
I can't believe that Rita has basically given up her life to be at her daughter's beck and call.
Where does this family live? I don't believe I bumped into anyone with infant triplets recently.
Well, the plot doth thickeneth, Sinead. The entire family had to be put under some sort of government protection. They were moved on to a safe house, and no one has seen or heard from them since.
But here's the best bit. They had to move away because Shelley was receiving death threats from Mr. Howard, the triplets' father.
You mean your sports teacher's husband?
Exactly. Shelley used to babysit their little girl, but she fell head over heels in love with Mr. Howard.
In love indeed. A childhood infatuation, more like.
She said he seduced her. Anyway, as you can imagine, Mrs. Howard was outraged. She threw her husband out and they divorced pretty soon afterwards.
Oh my God, this is better than Corrie.
I know. Mr. Howard just lost the plot because Shelley wouldn't abort the children. He started to harass her and her family. At first, he stalked Shelley.
He followed her everywhere and would shout abusive comments at her in the street.
How dreadful.
Then he started to follow her in his car. He even tried to run her over.
Oh, no. I'm so terribly sorry.
Don't worry, no harm done. Won't take long to pick up the pieces. Sinead, you're shaking. Is everything all right?
Yes. Honestly, I'm perfectly fine. I'm just ashamed of myself for being so clumsy.
If I had a penny for every piece of crockery I've broken recently, I'd be a millionaire. It's just something else to add to the list of side effects I'm currently experiencing. Oh, the joys. Please, Sinead, sit down.
I'll nip out back and get the dustpan and brush. Everyone stay put in case there are any stray shards.
Anyway, so as I was saying, things got really messed up. He turned up at Shelley's door one day with a machete. That's when the police got involved, and then the whole thing blew up. None of us have seen Shelley since she was 8 months pregnant. Ooh, must be getting on for about 5 years ago now.
Wow, what a story.
I tell you what, free Pudding Club goodie bags for all tonight. Everyone must take at least half a dozen of my delicacies home to try on family and friends. I'm determined to get you all hooked on my puddings if it's the last thing I do.
There we go. Oh, could I just get under your chair, Sinead? I'll have this cleared up in no time.
Oh, stop! I can't stand that noise any longer. That hideous scratching noise, like the sound of chalk scraping on a blackboard. Oh, I just can't continue to look at the broken mess. Last weekend it was the antique fruit bowl. Robert threw it against the dining room wall with such gusto I thought he'd damaged the plasterboard. Luckily it was just a minor scrape on the wall. However, it was a very different outcome for the fruit bowl. I never liked it anyway. It was a gift passed down to us from Robert's mother. A horrid coffee-coloured thing with a nasty brown swirly pattern and a hideous hairline crack right through the middle of it. Or at least it's where it belongs now, in the bin. It's becoming a bit of a Sunday night ritual. If I were to be invited to a Greek wedding, I'd be a dab hand at plate smashing. The last one I broke was spectacularly obliterated into a million pieces. I'm still finding tiny fragments 3 weeks after the event. It's like pine needles after Christmas. How on earth do they manage to suddenly reappear on the floor in August? It's one of life's conundrums, a little like the current state of my marriage. According to Robert, I am pushing him away. But how can I possibly push someone away who is never around to push in the first place? Every weekend when Robert is home consists of the same thing. He squirrels himself away into the study for hours on end, putting in the odd appearance for a hot beverage or a bite to eat. I, however, spend my entire weekend in the car ferrying the boys to various clubs, parties and playdates. The boys are invariably out at weekends. Last Saturday, Gregory left the house at 8 a.m. as he said he was going to do a 20-mile bike ride with some chums from school. But I passed him on the road only an hour later when I was taking Ewan to his swimming lesson. He was alone, sitting on a park bench looking down at his phone. I actually felt rather jealous. What I would give for a little more me time. I can't quite pinpoint how he got to this place. What I do know is that it's all getting rather out of hand. I'm afraid I won't be responsible for my actions if the Emma Bridgewater ends up in the line of fire next time. How naive of me to think that our love would be everlasting. I should have seen the warning signs from the start. It wouldn't even let me choose my own wedding dress. Dare I admit that I am only keeping this going just to keep up appearances?
Let's get this party started.
This isn't
Anybody
nice.
fancy some of these nuts? I've got these great
I love these little sauces.
Cheers.
Some more crisps down.
Oh, cheers.
We'll have some of
This is
that.
more like it. I thought I'd watch into the set of the Acorn Antiques with all that vintage china everywhere. I was half expecting Julie Walters to pop out of nowhere and offer me a bowl of soup. Two soups.
Actually, vintage china is all the rage, especially if the patterns don't match. It's eclectic and retro and eco-friendly, and it's all stuff that is being reused and recycled rather than thrown away. And as a fully fledged and highly committed Victoria Wood fan, I know for a fact that Julie Walters said that famous line in a comedy sketch that had nothing to do with Acorn Antiques.
Oh, Frankie. You don't mind me calling you Frankie, do you? I can't stomach any kind of formality. It blocks creative energy flow and messes with my chi. Here, hold this a sec. Hum. Pet, I'm just yanking your chain. It's an occupational hazard, I'm afraid. Now, before I get too sozzled, tell me all about your plans for this wonderful venture of yours. Hang on. Now, where the hell is it? Ah, yes, found it. Ooh. That's for later. There you are. Right, down to business. So, my pet, what's the spin on this thing of yours? Are you planning to open a nudist dating agency or a hashish cafe? Either or, I'll be the first in the queue.
Are you having me on again? This is rural Lincolnshire after all, not Amsterdam.
More's the pity.
Actually, Nancy, you weren't far off the mark with the whole two soups thing. Why don't we sit over here and I'll tell you all about it? See, the thing is, I actually intended...
So, we moved here when Anthony was 4 and Gregory was only 2. I remember it well as I was 6 months pregnant with Gus at the time.
Oh, my Lord, Sinead, you must have been knackered. All them tiny kids with a bun in the oven. It's a miracle you're still alive.
It was rather full on, I must admit. Robert was also in the middle of a promotion at the time and hardly home. I love my leafy London suburb, but it's so expensive to live near central London on one salary, and with dependents in the mix, it made sense to move somewhere more family-friendly, with good schools and within commutable distance.
Oh, I'd love to live in London. It's such an exciting place. So much going on. I could spend a fortune on clothes there. And I've done some really fab all-nighters out clubbing with the girls. Only trouble is, it then takes a few months for my bank account to recover. So until I meet a rich man, I think I'll be stuck here living at the deli with Mum.
Oh, looks like you'll be living here for some time then, Cinders.
The boys and I love a London day out. We choose an area to explore, sometimes taking a matinee show, and more often than not finish our day with a nice dinner somewhere before hopping back on the train to come home.
Oh, lucky lads.
Indeed, they are, Joan. As am I.
So where's your hubby then when you're all out having such a great time?
Well, he too is in London, of course, but working.
Oh, that's a shame. Does he get much quality time with the boys? I'm no parent, but you see these programmes all the time, don't you, where they say that all children really want is to spend time with their mums and dads doing silly things like playing games together.
Indeed, Jules. We do that.
Just going for a walk.
I do that with Ewan. The other boys have their extracurricular sports activities to keep them fit and healthy.
Even just eating a meal together and shooting the breeze as a family. It's apparently the simple things that make a child feel secure and wanted and loved and helps them grow into decent human beings.
We had all that as kids, just with Mum. I never felt I'd missed out on anything just because we didn't have Dad around. I think as long as you're in a loving and nurturing environment, it makes no difference how many grown-ups you have around you. It is definitely the time a parent has for you that makes the difference.
Oh, mark it on the calendar. Nessa has complimented her mother in public.
Oh, what a lovely thing to say about your mum, Nessa. I remember when I felt the same about my own mum, but that were a long time ago. Oh, is that the time already? I need to get going. Soon be mum's bedtime.
But Joan, you simply cannot go home yet. We didn't finish our conversation. Have you been living with your mother for a long time?
About, 18 months now. My Fred died in the June, and me and Arthur moved in with Mum in the December of that year, just after Christmas. She was already bad then. A lady from the social suggested carers come in, but my mum wasn't having none of it.
Oh, dear, Joan. It must be so difficult for you.
Do you know what, love? It's a pigging nightmare. Just when I think we're getting on top of things, she goes and gets worse. We got a dish for the keys to go in. Now that and the keys have gone missing. Her hairbrush has gone. I spent half the day looking for her teeth, and now the new thing is slippers. She's lost 3 pairs in a month. I don't know where she's stashing the buggers.
Oh, dear. How frustrating for you.
That's why I've got our Sid round tonight. He says I make this stuff up, but he's never round long enough to see the truth of it. I left him making a cup of tea in the kitchen, and I know I shouldn't, but I had to laugh as I left because Mum was putting the milk back in the tins cupboard, which happens all the time, and he said, "Mum, what are you doing?" And she said, "Putting the milk back in the fridge." Well, the shock on his face. It was like someone had put a fag burn in his precious Man United top.
Oh, I see. Families. It can be a complicated dynamic. I don't have a brother, but my sister and I don't always see eye to eye. We get along most of the time, but we are such different individuals, you know.
There's naught complicated about my brother, I can tell you, Sinead. He winds me up somewhat rotten. He's so piggin' selfish. I best be off.
Nonsense. I'm sure your brother would have been in touch by now if there were a problem. Stay a while longer. Relax. Fancy a top-up?
Oh, no thanks. I need me wits about me. I have a night shift to get through.
Oh, Joan, you must be shattered. I hate getting a broken night's sleep.
I must admit I'm knackered, Duck. I'm no good without me Kip. That was another reason why me and Fred didn't want kids.
Mick and I don't have kids either. We're just as happy as we are. There's not many of us about these days, Joan. We're a dying breed, don't you know?
Yeah, literally.
So what? Shouldn't we all have the right to choose what we do and don't want in life? Especially if it isn't affecting anyone else. Live and let live, I say.
My brother's got 3 kids. I used to get invited to the birthday parties when they were small, but I hardly ever see them now. Besides, I'm too busy looking after Mum to think about anyone else now.
Oh, but you do have Arthur, Joan, and without him, you wouldn't have met me.
Nessa Duck, I am so glad I met you. You're an angel in disguise. It almost makes me sad that I didn't have a kid after all.
Oh, thanks, Joan.
Not worth wasting your breath over, sweets. My son is 31 this year and I haven't seen him for years. He could be dead himself for all I know. You just can't guarantee how it'll pan out, with or without children.
Oh, dear Nancy. What a terrible shame. You must be worried sick about his whereabouts.
Nah, not really. It's a mutual thing. We're two alike. We can tolerate one another for about an hour at a time before the daggers are drawn. If I really wanted to see him, I'd know where to go, who to contact, vice versa. But that's how we both like it.
Oh, Jules, did you miss me, honey? You look awful sad.
Say what? Oh, yes. I mean, no. Don't flatter yourself. I was quite enjoying having this bottle of Prosecco to myself. Watch out, everyone. Lady Lush is on the loose.
More like on the lash.
Ha ha, very funny, ladies, very funny.
This is all Joan's fault. Now I can't stop thinking about my dad. Mum and I went through hell watching him slowly fade away. It was like a never-ending nightmare. The person dying is held captive by the poisoned ivy slowly strangling them, while nurses and loved ones attempt in vain to cull the incurable infestation. Mum never left Dad's side. Fueled by PG tips and custard creams, she fussed around him while he lay motionless in bed, brushing his teeth, cleaning his glasses and mopping his brow so much it made his head look like a buffed up brass doorknob. On the day he finally died, she collapsed into a river of tears. So much to process, I suppose. I remember hugging her and telling her, as you do, that everything was going to be all right. But I can honestly say I felt nothing. Mick thought I was in shock, but here's the thing. I was actually relieved. On my arms are little marks like chickenpox scars. You can see the little indents in the skin where a really annoyingly itchy spot has been so vigorously scratched it forms a scab, which in turn is then removed by more considered scratching and picking, resulting in an eternal mark left on the skin as a reminder of the whole irritating but weirdly satisfying experience. I've got quite a few of these marks all over my body. Dad would give himself extra points if the metal darts landed in my hair. And 10 extra points if he threw one successfully into one of my toes. I have to give it to him. He was a very skilled marksman. The darts never once got stuck anywhere in my face, hands, or ears. Something to be grateful for, I suppose. Oh, and that fusty, putrid smell of damp in the understairs cupboard. I'll never understand why I was punished for trying to stop him from putting out his cigarettes on Mum's back. I'm still furious with myself for missing his head when I launched the frying pan at him that day. I'm pretty sure it winded something though, because he couldn't walk very well for a couple of days after that. I'm not proud of it, but God, it felt good to give him a taste of his own medicine. Oh! Stop it! Think about something else. Close your eyes. Like you did in the cupboard. Feel that warm glow of sun on your skin and lose yourself in the enormous crashing sound of those formidable, frothy waves that resonate and wash away the tears.
Poppy must be barking at next door's cat again.
I'll go and calm her down, Mum, and check she hasn't knocked the pictures off the windowsill again. She's normally really good with cats, but there is something about Mr. Dawson's tabby that just sets her off every time she sees it.
Bet that cat has had a go at the poor dog. They can be vicious things, cats. Nasty set of claws on them too.
Oh my God! There's an elderly woman in a nightdress stuck up the tree on the green.
No way.
Look, honestly, seriously.
I'd recognise that pale blue nightie anywhere. That's me bloody mother up there. Bugger! I knew our Sid would be useless.
Out of my way, everyone. I've got a story to cover.
Brilliant. That just sums it up. Upstaged by an old lady in a flannelette nightie. This evening has been a bloody disaster from start to finish.
Hello, Liv. Is everything all right, darling? Oh, I see. No, honestly, it's fine. You did the right thing. Tell Ewan that Mummy will be with him in a jiffy. I'll be home shortly, okay? Bye-bye. I am so sorry, Frankie, but I too must leave. Ewan has a temperature and won't settle without me. It's probably one of those school bugs doing the rounds again.
It's okay, Sinead. I totally understand.
It has been an absolute pleasure to meet you all. I am so grateful that Nessa invited me. It's been a marvellous evening. Jules, be a darling and say goodbye to Nessa from me, and be sure to send my regards to Joan when you next see her. I do hope her mother is going to be all right.
Sure thing. No worries, Sinead. Bless Joan. Looks like the poor thing can't let her mother out of her sight for 5 minutes.
I must dash. Duty calls. Au revoir.
Good Lord. How many drinks did that woman have? It's like she's just got off a witch's hat at the park. You've got to see this, Frankie. Come on up.
Oh, the witch's hat. Now you're really showing your age, Jules. Bang on comparison, though. I had no idea Sinead was that merry. Must be the fresh air. Oh, there she goes. Sway to the left, stagger to the right. Oh.
Oh, look, the firemen have used that cherry picker thing to get Joan's mum down with. Oh, thank goodness she's down safely. Oh, God. What's Joan doing to that man? Is she pulling at his beard or twisting his ears? Oh.
She is now twisting his ears after punching his arm. You get a much better view of things from the flat upstairs. I tell you, I'm never going to get on the wrong side of Joan. She may be small, but she's feisty.
Ooh, must be Joan's brother.
Oh, go on, Joan.
Oh, dear.
No love lost it there in that sibling relationship.
Oh, look, here's the ambulance. Should we all go out and offer Joan some moral support?
Don't think there's a lot we can do, really, Jules. Nancy was brilliant. She collared a couple of firemen when they first got there, and then stood with Joan the whole time while the old lady was being coaxed down from the tree. But as soon as she was down safely, Joan went tonto on her brother. It was literally like watching an episode of Jeremy Kyle.
What the? There's a dog out there going bonkers now.
Oh, that's Arthur. Be back in a sec.
Just great. What a bloody farce. Pudding club indeed. It's more like 1 foot in the grave round here. I don't believe it!
Frankie, come on. It's not been that bad. It's not like hardly anyone came and there's loads of cake left. Oh, well, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to.
Well, well, well. What a saga. I definitely need a drink after all that. Is there any Prosecco left, Jules? Oh, this'll do nicely. Oh, where's the hostess gone? I need to finish this story. Double bubble for me tonight. Might get that Christmas bonus after all.
Frankie went upstairs to calm the dog down. Where's Nessa?
Oh, she's helping settle Joan's dog down with Sydney Longears. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Joan's fingers were clamped onto my brother's lobes so tightly. It reminded me of the time a lover and I role-played Madonna and Sean Penn. It took us 3 hours to prise the sink plungers off my boobs. Even got the scars to prove it. Every time I look at myself naked in the mirror now, it's like I have a pair of saggy alien eyes looking back at me.
Oh, Nancy, that's brilliant. Cheers.
Cheers.
The most outrageous thing I ever did to spruce up my sex life was to wear a pair of rubber gloves and tell Mick it was time for his operation.
Oh, stick with me, pet. There's plenty more where that came from. The champagne cork incident is another gem for the history books. Frankie, darling, you're just in time to hear about the downfalls of initiating alternative champagne cork popping championships whilst on a blind date. It's a real turd.
Oh, dear Lord. They really did break the mould when they made you, Nancy.
I've heard it all before, pet. One thing about having no shame is that I'm rarely outdone in anything, and I'm practically immune to criticism. It is a blessing and a curse, as I'm not afraid to put myself in any situation. On the downside, I do often end up in uncompromising positions that invariably involve hospitalisation.
Oh, speaking of hospitals, what happened out there to Joan's mother? Is she all right?
Yeah, after a thorough examination by the paramedics, a consensus was reached that dear Florence would be able to stay at home, but will receive a visit from the community nurse tomorrow to give her thighs a thorough once-over. The poor dear has mild carpet burn chafing due to clinging on for dear life to the tree trunk. Joan has slapped on the Sudocrem and is currently putting her mother to bed, while the lovely Nessa is calming down the dog. And Joan's brother is attempting to look useful by making them all a cup of tea.
His card is well and truly marked, just like his ears.
Fab Jules. Oh, that's so good. Well, maybe tonight hasn't been such a disaster after all. With any luck, Joan's brother will take the pressure off Joan a bit now by helping out more. Do we know how Joan's mother ended up in the tree in the first place?
I have the full exclusive, with Joan's blessing, of course. I'll report what I saw and heard from both sides, but I will have to admit the effing and jeffing. Oh, and probably the ear pulling, as Joan might find herself on the receiving end of the law if her brother wants to play dirty.
Oh, come on. Surely Joan couldn't get in trouble for tugging her brother's ears. I've seen far worse sibling squabble fights right here in the deli. Well, Nessa used to pull Arnie's hair out in clumps if he'd eaten the last party ring without her permission.
To be fair to Joan's brother, he did admit that he'd ignored his sister's concerns about Florence. He just didn't want to admit that there was something wrong with his mother. It's a classic case of denial.
Poor Joan. I'll pop over to see her tomorrow with some puddings and ask if she needs any shopping.
Great idea, Frankie. We could maybe even get a bit of a rota up and running between us if Joan will let us help.
Ah, good you're back, Nessa. We were just saying that we might be able to help Joan out with a bit of shopping. Do you think she'd let us help her?
I'd probably leave it for a few days, Mum, before asking. I've just left Joan having a right go at her brother. She is proper wound up. I managed to calm Arthur down, but Joan needs a tranquiliser.
It's probably been coming to a head for a while. Sometimes we need to go off like a rocket to get all the anger and frustration out. It's a good release. I also recommend screaming into your pillow.
Interesting. But does it really help?
I swear by it. I'm to it.
Oh, brilliant. I'll definitely be giving that a go.
Hey, Frankie, maybe we should have a pillow under the counter to scream into for when there's an awkward customer.
Bob.
Intriguing. Tell me more.
Oh, he's all that and a shake of sugar. He's an old pal of my dad's. He's a stickler for tradition and absolutely hates the ideas I have for the deli. I could take his order with my eyes closed. 4 Scottish morning rolls, 2 slices of Wiltshire ham, and a small, uncut hazelet.
And you can guarantee every single week he will complain about the colour of the haystack. It's either too pink or too black, but he always buys it anyway.
Yeah, and he will then proceed to offer his opinion on everything and anything, whether you like it or not.
The longest recorded time of me giving him a good listening to stands at 47 minutes. God, if I hear the story about the gristle and gravy Frey Bentos pie again anytime soon, I think I'll self-combust.
Aw, don't be mean. He's a darling. He's just a bit lonely, that's all. He told me a really funny story recently about a big night out with Grandpa a few years back after they'd won the Pub Domino Championships. He got so drunk he had to stop the cab halfway home to be sick on the green out here, only to wake up in bed the next day to realise it wasn't only the scampi and chip supper he'd gotten rid of the night before. He'd also vommed up his false teeth.
What an absolute perler of a story. I have to meet this guy. I could do a feature called Most Embarrassing Sick Stories. He could retrace his steps just like he must have done on that fateful day, and we could improvise with cold porridge and take a corking pic of him rummaging in it to find his dentures.
Ew, disgusting. What an image to have in your head.
Oh, come on, Mother. We all have an embarrassing sick story to tell.
Bathtub chin. I'm just glad to know he doesn't just moan all the time. Is it wrong to actually respect someone who's totally embarrassed themselves?
Embarrassed, embraced, potato, potato. First things first, though, we need to wrap up this interview. If I do a decent job of it, you may actually get a house full next time.
Geez, thanks, I think.
Sorted. Right, listen up, Pet. If I didn't like what I saw, tasted, heard, I'd be out of here like a shot. I don't do secrets and lies. I do facts. And the fact is, with a few tweaks here and there, you could have a pretty nice setup.
Well, coming from you, I'll take that as a compliment.
I wish I could be a bit more like you, Nancy. More out there and self-assured. What's the secret?
Well, my darling lady, there is no secret ingredient that makes us who we are. We all have shit to deal with as our lives unfold, but it's how we deal with that shit that makes us better or worse at it. I learnt long ago to stop punishing myself for everything. The mind's a powerful tool. Tell yourself for long enough that you're a failure, and guess what? You will be. It's not rocket science.
That's easy to say, but hard to do, Nancy. It's not a switch that can just be turned off. Life is far more complicated than that.
Never said it was simple, Pet, but the sooner you give yourself a break and start to value yourself for you, it's a far easier ride.
I think I read an article somewhere in Cosmo about all this. It talked about the demands of modern living and how it is having a negative impact on individuals and relationships. It was called Be Kind to Yourself.
And I am. Every Friday evening when it's 1 o'clock.
So what do you call it on Saturday and Sunday then?
Why, kinder and kinder still, obviously.
Of course, obviously, yes.
Booze is not always the answer, but I do love it without question.
Ah, very clever, Nancy. You're very good with words. Anyone would think you might write for a living or something.
I know, Pet. Now, get your head out of my ass and let's finish this interview.
So, where did we get up to before all this madness started?
You were in the middle of telling me about eventually transforming the place into a restaurant. Why not just go for the end game straight away?
See, Frankie, I told you should just go for it. I'll tell you why she's stalling Nancy. She just doesn't believe in herself enough, when actually she is more than capable of pulling it off.
Hey, you! Stop gigging in on my interview. I want to take my time because it's a massive change. I don't want to run a shop anymore, but it's a big financial commitment. If it goes wrong, everything my parents built would have been for nothing. I couldn't live with myself if it failed.
You can't have success without failure, Pet. They pretty much go hand in hand. What do your regulars think of it?
Well, judging by this evening, not a lot. I value my customers so much and have spent months asking for their input and ideas. The Pudding Club's supposed to be a way of introducing new things gradually whilst running down the deli side of things. I really thought I got my regulars on board.
So, they're loving your plans. Excellent.
Come on, Nessa. Let's leave Mary Berry and Janis Joplin to it. I could do with some help out the back. Place looks like a bomb's hit it.
What's in it for me?
Well, a roof over your head until Justin Timberlake comes calling.
Ha ha, very funny.
What kind of food vibe are you going for?
Traditional English with a twist. I love to cook all kinds of foods. The intention is to use as many suppliers of local ingredients as possible. I also have my own allotment that my dad helps me with. So most meals I cook will tie in with seasonal fruit and veg.
Sustainable and eco-friendly. Loving it. So not only a whiz with a whisk, but green-fingered too. And how long have you had your allotment?
Oh, not that long actually. About 2 years. Dad has grown his own ever since I can remember. I have such fond memories as a kid, helping to pluck the carrots out of the earth, snapping the green beans off their stalks. That earthy, truly fresh veg smell, you just can't beat it. Not many strawberries ever made it back to the house though, and I had a nickname down the allotment, the cherry tomato locust.
Hats off to you, girl. I can't even keep a cactus alive. I just don't have the time or patience for it all.
This is probably going to sound really daft, but I truly believe that my allotment has saved me. I felt very low at times over the past few years, but engrossing myself in growing fruit and veg has been really therapeutic.
I can dig that vibe, Pet. I know so many ladies who've struggled to keep it together when the big M hits. I feel for you, I really do. I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess. Apart from the odd headache and a few added inches on the belly, I'm all good. Oh, I'm also a stubborn bitch with an insatiable sex drive, but that's always been the case.
It affects us all in different ways. I envy you for having had it so easy. Jules is the same. She never complains about anything and blames my insomnia on just overthinking.
Life throws these curveballs at us, Pet. It is what it is. The good news is, it doesn't last forever.
Yes, but sometimes it feels like it's never going to end. Anyway, we veered off the subject. What was the question again?
Damned if I know. All hail the dictaphone. I've got a pretty good idea of how I'm going to play this for you, Pet. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. I'll be giving you one of my 5-star reviews, and I'm sure you'll have a full house before you know it.
Frankie, look what I have just found in the kitchen.
I know. What a waste of time and effort that was. Oh, just throw all the leaflets away. I'll have to make some new ones up for next week now.
No, Frankie, I mean, really, take a look. What does it say on the leaflets?
What are you on about? Have you been sniffing the anti-bac spray out there? I know perfectly well what the leaflet says because I made them myself 3 weeks ago.
Yes, but did you check the date on said leaflet that you made 3 weeks ago?
What do you mean, did I check the date? Of course I... Oh, bugger.
Oh my God, Mum. Mrs. Denton has just left a message for you to say, can she book a table for the Pudding Club evening you are having next month? Her sister is over from Australia and they want a table for 8 people. Digital news travels fast, eh? So cool you got it out there so quickly, Nancy.
Nothing to do with me, chick. I know I'm good, but even I've got my limitations.
Your lovely but daft as a brush mother has been handing out leaflets with a humdinger of a typo. Look!
Welcome Home Deli proudly presents the Pudding Club, a chance to tickle your taste buds and sample some of the best homemade desserts in friendly, familiar surroundings. Time, 7 p.m. Date, 26th of July. Mum, July? That's next month.
And the penny drops. Boom. So there you were, panicking that the regulars didn't come because they'd all decided to boycott your idea, when in reality, you'd been promoting the wrong bloody date all along.
Excuse me, we've all been handing out the leaflets in the past few weeks, not just me. That makes us all as daft as basil, as in brush, not the herb.
Ooh, do you grow that on your allotment? I love a good herb.
Best served as a garnish on a nice tomato sauce. Not sure it would pack the same punch in a roll-up.
Well, what a relief. All's well that ends well.
Surely, Pet, you mean all's well at Welcome Home. That's it. Article and headline in the bag. Now, let's have another drink to celebrate. Cheers!
Yes, thank goodness. Yes, cheers. Home, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Welcome, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Come on in and close the door. You've been gone, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, too long, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, welcome. You're home once more.
The Pudding Club was written by Belinda Hay and featured, in order of appearance, Jo Mules as Jules, Rachel Pick as Sinead, Rachel Rowett as Nessa, Colette Buchanan Gray as Joan, Belinda Hay as Frankie, and Mel Burke as Nancy. The programme was recorded and edited by Callum Thursby and directed by Kai Bailey. This production was presented by Sortified's Being Bold project, which is funded by the Tampon Tax Community Fund, provided through the Lincolnshire Community Foundation.